Hang on, my face is a little shiny. I'm gonna get a paper towel.
Hey Dash, can you cancel the EA Sports sound into the Tim Allen sound?
Yeah, now
EA
mind
Sports, it's in the Tim Allen.
I can't or well I can do this, but I'm doing this literally off of memory. So let's see how I can do because I don't hear these sound effects.
Oh,
EA Sports. It's in the.
that was
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, hell
Nice.
yeah. That was exactly what I wanted.
I've got that so dialed in. I just have like every time I hit the keys, I have to run the voice clip in my head to get my timing right. Ah!
Uh,
Do you see how that made you feel? That is what we're going to be talking about today.
biggest
Good one.
scares of
Most
2022.
anticipated.
The biggest surprise of the year. So this I actually always forget the exact lineage of this category because I think what it was is we we stopped doing worst game because we once we like all got out of GameStop, we just weren't playing so many just objectively terrible games anymore.
Mhm.
And we still needed to tweak it a little bit, and it became biggest letdown or the most disappointing game. But it matters a lot to me. Like I don't want this thing we do every year to be a super negative thing. Like this is to celebrate the games we played. This is supposed to be a positive thing. So I don't want to dwell too much on bad categories. So the inverse of biggest letdown is of course biggest surprise, where something we had very low expectations for, or something we did not know about, or something that just came out of the blue that really fucking like wowed us this year.
Yeah,
So
and then I think at some point I got cute with it and was just like something that I was surprised about,
yeah,
which is still fun.
and it's also like these aren't necessarily the best games we played, but it's just like, you know what, like this actually did a really good job. And I think like that vibe of this is definitely not one of the best games, but I feel the need to call this out
Mhm.
is what my number three is. So look, I'm gonna level with y'all. You all know this about me, but life is hard saying the words out loud to other humans. I like Sonic the Hedgehog. It
When will you
has
learn?
we have lived a
I haven't
very
had that experience yet because I haven't
we've
liked a
lived a
Sonic the
very
Hedgehog.
difficult life because most of the games are fucking bad. Um, so when a new one gets shown, there's always like the usual Sonic cycle where they show really well at the beginning and then inevitably end up being like really shitty. But this one, Sonic Frontiers, got shown and it is certifiably insane. I don't want to say like grim dark because it's not that, but it's Sonic in a like a relatively photorealistic world.
It looks like he's running around a abandoned Death Stranding area.
Yes, but then also there's like still rails and all of this like nutty shit going on. And then also you can go into normal Sonic levels. But anyway, so Sonic Frontiers gets shown and it looks fucking preposterous. And I know in that moment that I need to play this just because this game looks buck wild. And with I think on the fourth day it was out, it dropped to half price. Never a good sign, I gotta say. But because I have a deep sickness, I went out and I picked it up that day for my PlayStation 5. And I booted. This was also like the same week God of War came out, so they definitely like signed this game into a death spot to not get any sales. Um, and I'm playing it and God of War kind of back and forth. And the more I play of God of War, the more I'm sitting of like, I want to play more Sonic Frontiers. Like I want to put this game down. I want to go and play more Sonic Frontiers.
I don't think that
And
sentence has ever been said before.
it
I remember
is
you saying that in the group chat a lot, though.
like it's I don't want to say that this game is great because it has some glaring issues, like especially on a lot of the like visuals. The pop in is really bad on it. It runs at a smooth frame rate, but the visual fidelity of the pop in and a lot of stuff is fucking terrible. The art direction is terrible. Um,
I've heard
but
somebody describe it as it feels like an asset flip. It's not, but it
yes,
feels like one.
absolutely. But it is the most fun I have had in a Sonic game maybe ever the act of just running around the big worlds, going really fast, going off of the rails and all this other shit is just fun to do. It's like that parable you hear about when they're designing Mario games, they make sure it is just fun to be Mario and run around and jump around before they build any of the levels. And it feels like they did that with this, where I just like running around these environments, running off of shit, like not even like doing all the Breath of the Wild shit that they make you do. It is a game that can be progressed entirely by fishing with Big the Cat. By spending time with Big the Cat and fishing, you can get every item you need to progress the game. So you don't have to engage with any of the levels, any of the platforming, or any of that. You can just fucking fish with Big the Cat all day, which rules. I love fishing with Big the Cat.
Hell yeah.
Are you sure
It's-
the Sega Bass Pro team didn't make this game?
No. The fishing mini game isn't fun. Like, let me be very clear on that. But they play like this lo-fi music with Big the Cat, and you're just hanging out and fishing. It's not fun, but it's a vibe.
Mhm.
It plays butt rock with lyrics at every boss fight that you do.
Of course, because it's Sonic.
It's so like everything on paper. I know what I'm describing are bad things, and that's why this game is so surprising. Where they have announced that they're doing an entire year of extra content for it, and they're going to fix up a lot of the visuals. And I am excited for them to make more of this game, so I can play more of this game.
Wild.
It is not one of the best games I played this year. I need to emphasize that this game is not what one would call good, but it exceeded all of my expectations at every single turn. And it's not good, but I can't in my heart say it's a bad video game. It's very fun despite all of the problems with it. Again,
And that's
not,
about the best we can expect from Sonic anymore.
not a top 10 game by any means, but if you're doing a category for surprises, this I think is the perfect spirit of the category.
Still only number 3 though.
Still only number 3. But Ryan, what is your number 3?
So like I was saying, I look at this as like just something that was surprising, like news or a moment could show up in there or a game. But I went with Dwarf Fortress finally coming out.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like this thing that has been free and in development for probably, it seems like the entire time I've been
It's like
playing
10 or
video
15
games.
years.
Yeah, just forever. And I always assumed it was just gonna stay as this weird ASCII art thing on the internet that only freaks checked out. And now it's on Steam and costs $30 and has like real graphics and stuff. And it's crazy.
And it sold extremely well. Like I remember I did the math on it, and like if you look at the money they made off of this, it is because it's like just like the dude and his brother who've been making it for like the last decade or whatever. Like it comes out to them getting like $120,000 for every year of development they've done.
That's
So
crazy.
like I'm really happy that they have found success with it. I did purchase and download it. It is still inscrutable even with the UI and stuff, but it's streets ahead of where it used to be. But also the creator of it openly said that this game will never be in 1.0 because it's never going to be finished. It is the most pervert game for perverts out there. It is my limit of just like, I'll do some fucking Buck Wild games, but I won't do Dwarf Fortress. It is
Yeah, because it's one of those things that it's like everything is complex. It's like everything has like its own system. And just it's crazy. Like the level of complexity in that game feels like somebody has been obsessively working on it for 15 years.
Yeah.
Which, what a coincidence. The first beta came out 16 years ago.
Jesus.
Crazy.
But yeah,
Dwarf
Dwarf Fortress
Fortress
is crazy.
coming-
Like
yeah.
I've played a little bit of it and I was like, oh no, this is a hole I don't think I want to go down, but I absolutely would go down it.
I work with programmers and stuff like that. They play a lot of like programming type games or Zachtronics games, like TS100 or Factorio, those weirdo games. But even they are just like, no, I won't touch Dwarf Fortress. Like that is, I won't do. Like when I told them that it was hitting like the Steam release in 1.0, they're like, that's fucking crazy. But no.
Yeah, still no.
Yeah, that's a good one. But Jason, what is your number 3 biggest surprise?
So none of the things on my list were really big surprise is like a game I had never heard of becoming like my favorite game. It was more just kind of surprised I enjoyed a game as much as I did. So my number three was Sifu, which was on my list for three games I was looking forward to last year. But I was looking forward to it based on kind of nothing. Like I saw one quick preview of it, like a really brief description, then never really looked into it beyond that, and just kind of decided, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna play that. So I picked it up, hadn't really watched. I watched like maybe a 90-second review of it, but picked it up, played it, and was sucked in immediately. I mean, I never beat it. I still want to go back and get into it more. Um, it also came out at kind of a bad time. Like I was pretty deep in Elden Ring when it came out, so I didn't give it enough focus. But I was surprised. I mean, that I kind of went into it pretty blind and liked it as much as I did.
Yeah, Sifu was one of those games like I didn't pick it up at launch, but it like seeing it, it's like, oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely
Like I
gonna love
waited
that
until
game.
I waited until the physical came out because I knew if I was gonna buy it, I may as well get the physical version just because I like to have something for the shelf.
My surprise with Sifu is that like it was the one that caught on. Like
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to play it, but like there was a point where it's like I think everybody here was playing it except me. And I was
I
like,
wasn't.
weird,
Also,
you didn't
like-
play it?
Absolver's not that good.
Exactly.
So like I'm really happy if we'll get into it maybe in a later category about
Yeah, maybe.
this game and how high or how much a person ends up enjoying it. But yeah, Sifu is it did even surprise me with like how much I enjoyed it.
hmm
Even though it's like on paper that is completely a dash game, but I was maybe also a little surprised with how much I loved it.
I thought it was gonna fall into the Absolver thing where it'd be like,
Mhm.
that's a cool thing, but it didn't click for me. And then I was surprised it clicked for everyone.
But Lily, what is your number three biggest surprise?
My number three biggest surprise is something that I don't think I would have even played, let alone a game that would have made the list if I had not played Unpacking. So my number three biggest surprise is A Little to the Left.
Hell yeah.
I keep seeing
have
videos
talked
about this.
it. I have talked about it before. It's great, and it's the diversity in the different levels, like the different things that you have to do, stacking Tupperware, sorting leaves, like arranging silverware, sorting a junk drawer. Like you just do all kinds of more or less completely unnecessary bullshit.
Yeah.
But
I agree that it like fits in that same category as Unpacking, but like
Yeah.
what if you made it slightly more like puzzly? Like because you gotta
Right.
parse out what you're supposed to be doing with the
Right.
stuff.
And there's multiple ways to complete almost all of the levels. Like most of them have at least two, but some of them have like 5 or 6 different ways that you can complete them. Like sorting leaves based on how many ridges they have, or sorting them by color, or making all of the holes in the leaves line up. Like there's multiple
All
different ways.
satisfying.
It's all incredibly satisfying, and I just enjoyed every bit of it. And they also do like daily challenges, and they had special Christmas puzzles, and it's a good time. Very
I
good
wanna
game.
fuck
I would
with this
recommend
game.
it.
Like I
I would
really
recommend
do.
it. It's also not
Uh,
super expensive on Steam.
Yeah. Also, if you play it on Switch, make sure you turn the cursor sensitivity all the way down because
Ooh.
they have it set to like mouse type sensitivity, or like you move around like a little Destiny cursor, but it's so like overly sensitive at even the normal level that it's like you'll like constantly miss lining things up.
In the Switch version, does it have a thing where it kind of like when you're dragging the object, it'll be kind of slanted, and then when you get to a place that it's like, hey, you can put that down right here, kind of.
It does do that.
Okay.
But yeah, you can miss the stuff a lot because you'll like overshoot it.
Right.
And that's it made
That's
the
a good
first
tip.
few levels of that game really frustrating.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a big surprise to me, just because I haven't really played that kind of a game before to my memory.
Mhm.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would recommend it to anybody who's looking for just kind of a chill puzzler, similar to Gorgoa.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But with that, Danny, what is your number three biggest surprise?
My My number 3 biggest surprise is Switch Sports.
Ah, man, I still want to play that.
I do too.
I know
Yeah,
Lily's got it.
I played it with
forgot it
Lily.
existed.
I can bring
haven't.
it to your house next time we get together.
Yeah,
They
I
added golf
have been
to
wanting to
Switch.
play more of it. Because like it, I mean it's Wii Sports but more, and also has better character customization uh than just Mii's. Um, and it's just
me's.
I I
Like that's not a
okay,
selling point.
I made
Right.
the best character I'll ever make with my me, and now that I can't do me's anymore, I'm mad.
You can still do a me.
Yeah, you can
You
still
don't
do
have to use
Mii's,
their characters.
Okay, Mario.
but
Wahoo!
but yeah, no, it's just it's it's that same thing that Nintendo has been doing with it, just like, hey, here's a bunch of games that feature motion controls, and we've been refining that and making it better, and it it's it's just a lot of fun. Like I don't know, I was not expecting Switch Sports to grab me the way it did, and I've been wanting to play more of it. So
Um,
uh
I have a
shout out
feeling
on
Switch
most
Sports will
surprising
come
that
up
they
again.
actually called that fucking game Switch Sports, meaning that it is part of the sports franchise.
Yeah, like Mario Sports.
Not the wildest name of a game that came out this year, but definitely pretty dumb.
Yeah,
But
because
Hunter,
it's or Nintendo Switch Sports for the Nintendo Switch.
yes,
Mm.
it's no triangle strategy, but it's not the best name.
I still can't believe they kept that.
Yeah.
Hunter,
Oh,
what is
boy.
your number 3? Is your surprise that they called it that?
No, I mean I could have put that, but I also put Dwarf Fortress on Steam, which I think we pretty much talked about it already, but it's just weird. I just never thought, like, I'd heard people talking about, Dwarf Fortress is gonna get Steam release for like 5-6 years or something. And I just never thought it was gonna happen.
Yeah,
It's
it
that
feels like
awkward
something
thing.
that
Like, who's that for?
right.
Mm.
Like,
Because
because it
whoever's
doesn't
playing
make the
Dwarf,
game that much more accessible.
It's
yeah,
for
whoever's
the
playing Dwarf
developers.
Fortress downloaded it already. They've had it
'Cause,
for
like-
free for 15 years.
Yeah, plus like you can like the graphics it has, that's just like an image pack you can download.
Yeah, the graphics are still shitty. It's just not ASCII. Yeah, it's wild. I'm happy I bought it.
I feel like
no,
I'd have to commit a whole year to really
made it
digging
no
into
more
Dwarf
accessible to
Fortress.
me.
I mean, you have to commit a year to learning how to play Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah.
Like
But
every button on the keyboard does something.
I want to play it with a Steel Battalion controller.
yeah, there we go. That's the only true way to play Dwarf Fortress. The 180 key MIDI guitar. But that'll bring us into the number 2s. The Terrible Twos, as they're known. Oh, fuck, I should have saved that for Letdown. Now, fuck it.
We'll pretend like you didn't say it.
Yeah. Here, Dash, edit that. He's not going to edit it. So my number 2 is okay. So let me take you back to the year of our Lord 2015, when this was one of the first years we did any kind of game of the year thing. But I don't believe that we had biggest surprise as a category yet. But I am super adverse to horror and horror material, scary stuff. It's not how I get my rocks off. I'm super not into it. I don't like horror. More power to you if you're into that. I'm super not. But I ended up playing a game called Until Dawn that, despite me not liking horror at all, I fucking loved Until Dawn. Which is just kind of a big send up and praising of all horror movies, like all kind of horror subgenres, and it's just like a really good love letter to the horror medium. And I fucking loved it. It's one of those like David Cage type games, and but done like way, way better than anything David Cage has ever done. So when that studio announced that they were going to start making like new one-shot games in the Dark Pictures franchise, I got really excited because I loved Until Dawn so much, and I picked up the first one, and I played it and it's like, oh, this is okay. This is a perfectly fine one of these, but it doesn't have that fucking magic that Until Dawn had. So then the next year when they released the second one of them, I played it and I could not even finish it because of how bored I was with it. Like the magic was gone. I ended up buying the third one just to make sure it's like, maybe I just didn't really enjoy that. And also did not play much of it because it was so fucking boring. So imagine my surprise when they put out another game that is not part of that Dark Pictures project they're doing, but a totally other like side game called The Quarry. And I am just kind of in the habit of buying these games because, again, I fucking loved Until Dawn. And I picked up The Quarry when it got down to $20, mostly because someone at work who also really likes Until Dawn was like, oh, you and I should get together and we should play Quarry. I'm like, I really didn't like those Dark Pictures games, whatever. Like, it'll be a fun thing. It was $20, not a big deal. And The Quarry is so fucking good that I don't understand how those Dark Picture games are so fucking bad. I think The Quarry is better than Until Dawn. It tells a better story. It is more fun to play. They have learned a lot from when they developed Until Dawn. When myself and the coworker, we played it for like 6 hours in the first sitting. And then once it was like 3 a.m, it's like, okay, you have to go home. Like, we need to go to sleep. And it's like, okay, we need to get it on the schedule to go and finish this up. Like, we were both chomping at the bit for an entire week to get back together and play this game. And we finished out in the second sitting. It is so motherfucking good. It is multi-platform. So like Until Dawn, which was a PS4 exclusive, anyone can pick up and play The Quarry. It is, rather than being like a send up to the horror genre, it is just a good teen, like fucking camp horror story. All of the characters, well, maybe not all of them, but like 95% of the characters are just written and acted really well. It's got Brenda Song in it. It's got David Arquette in it. David Arquette's performance is abysmal. It's shocking how bad his vocal performance is.
That's the actual surprise.
It's a really well written story where there is a mystery about like what's going on, but they are very intentional with like their Chekhov's guns of like they sprinkle in the clues, and if you are paying attention, it rewards you paying a lot of attention to the game. There's one part where they give you a puzzle that is like will kill a character if you fuck it up, but they don't explain the rules of the puzzle at all. They just rely on you having been observant in previous cutscenes to put all of these disparate pieces together and then solve this puzzle. And it much like Elden Ring really, really respects the player. Like, this really doesn't hold your hand with any of the things, and they are not afraid to just, if you fuck up one QTE, they are gonna ice a fucking character. Or if you don't explore enough, or you don't hit these like things in the right sequence, like they want you to try on this, and it's really, really satisfying. I think that it, like Until Dawn before it, is way better than a lot of the David Cage games, because while it is like, the walking simulator narrative adventure, the gameplay element comes into, you are trying to keep this group of teenagers alive. You are God, and you need to make sure no one dies. And that level of gameplay element into it, I think, elevates it so much above any of the David Cage games. The Quarry is goddamn incredible. I highly, highly advocate literally every person here play it. It is
When is
so fucking good.
The rail shooter for it coming out, though? The VR rail shooter.
God, I wonder if I don't know like what brand is stronger, The Quarry or Dark Pictures at this point, but they are doing like another rail shooter game.
Oh hell yeah!
But I don't know if they're doing the Until Dawn branding on it. But yeah, people should fucking play The Quarry. But like, I realize that I'm almost more selling this to Ryan than I mean the other people who don't really like the walking simulator type games. But it is.
I like walking simulators, but
it's so fucking fun, and I really enjoyed playing it with a second person. What it lets you do is you and a second player can pick what characters you control. So I ended up with like all of the boy characters, she ended up with all of the girl characters, and you just pass the controller back and forth. And much like when Ryan and I played Beyond Two Souls, taking the agency away from you and putting it in the hand of the second person elevates a lot of the tension. And like I want to say like blaming them feels good, but when you are truly not completely in control of a character's fate anymore, it really adds to it. I think 2 players is really a better way to play that game.
Okay.
Yeah, play The Quarry. It is so fucking good. It's also like very reliably on sale. I got my copy for like $20. Quarry's fucking good. But with that, Ryan, what is your number 2 biggest surprise?
Vampire Survivors.
The
the way it's described, like on paper, even still, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get into this game. It's like
Castlevania's cool.
I mean, Castlevania is cool, but like there's a lot of shitty Castlevania inspired stuff out there. So Castlevania is cool is not a
There's
selling
a lot of shitty
point.
Castlevanias out there.
Yeah. So it's like and even really, it's like it's not the Castlevania stuff that's like really holding me in. It's this casual gameplay loop. Like Dash, I think you'd even described it as like a clicker where you just walk around. And that, I mean, that's pretty much what it is. And I was like, that does not sound like something I want to spend my time with.
Quite possibly the worst way to describe a game.
Yeah.
But it's the numbers go up. It has the same like the same chemical release as playing a clicker.
Yeah, but I don't like clickers. Numbers go up, it doesn't release the same thing in my brain. Like, but this thing clicked with me.
That's
and I
why
was
you
like,
can't play Destiny with us.
Exactly.
Vampire Survivors is just Destiny.
yeah, Destiny is
Love
just a
first
first-person shooter. Vampire Survivors.
But Jason,
Yeah, that
what is your number 2 biggest surprise?
My number 2 is also Vampire Survivors. Because I expected it to be absolutely nothing, especially based on the first initial run. Like, I turned it on because it can actually run on my computer, and I was working on homework for school, and I had Vampire Survivors up on one of my screens, and I would like do a quick run and then go back to my schoolwork. I did a couple turns of it, like 10, 15 minutes where I survived. And I didn't really think much of it. Like, it didn't feel like it was going to click with me. But the first time I got garlic, things changed a little bit because it just made, because like the default character, you just have the whip and then you get double whip. And that's kind of your way to survive through the first few phases. But once I unlocked like a secondary character and kind of experienced more of the items and weapons, it made it feel like something that was more than just I'm gonna dick around for 10 minutes at a time. I still haven't played it a ton. I've only even touched 3 of the levels, but I've had a couple good like 30-ish minute runs on the library level. But so I was surprised I've played it more than 5 minutes, and I've definitely put hours into it because every run takes 15, 20, 30 minutes for me at least. And there have been plenty of times where I've told myself I'm just going to do one more run, and then 2.5 hours later, I've finally put the controller down. But yeah, so I was surprised I liked it at all, and it's nice that it cost me $5 and is also on Game Pass, so I was able to play it on 2 different systems and only spend $5 total on it.
Very surprising. But with that, Lily, what is your number 2 biggest surprise?
My number 2 biggest surprise is a game that I found on Game Pass called Escape Academy.
Oh man, I also want to do that one.
It's a good time. Like I'm not surprised that I enjoy it because I have always been a fan of those kind of, click around the room, find the pieces of the puzzle, unlock the shit, and get out of the room. I've always liked
shit.
Yeah, I've always liked escape room games.
It's an escape room.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think the development of that game started as these people were trying to do escape rooms in real life.
Oh, really?
But then lockdown and stuff happened. So they're like, how do we pivot?
Interesting. But yeah, I'm not surprised that I enjoy it. I'm surprised that I have enjoyed all of the puzzles. There hasn't been any of them that I'm just genuinely not enjoying. And also they all have like a countdown for doing it successfully. So there's some pressure to it, which I didn't expect to enjoy, but it adds an extra level of tension that is pretty nice. Like it's like an actual escape room, obviously. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't expect it to be good all the way through, but I have not seen any puzzles that I have not enjoyed genuinely.
That's good shit. It's one of those ones that once it came out on Game Pass, I did install it. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, I would recommend it for sure. It's a good time. I've not finished it, but
who finishes games anymore? Only me. That's who.
Not
But
too many
Danny,
games.
what is your number 2 biggest surprise?
My number 2 biggest surprise was Jason's number 3, Sifu. I, like Jason, had not really paid much attention to it. I actually hadn't. I think I had heard of it. I got it because it was on sale on GameFly. And
Same.
I wanted, yeah, I got it for that reason. And I wanted to like have a more even number on my cart. So I just threw it on there. I was like, yeah, I'll try it out. And I loved it. Like it's just a very clean, well-designed game, with great game feel. And yeah, like I was not expecting it to be really anything at all. I thought I would like probably spend like an hour or two with it and just kind of put it down. And I plugged a couple weekends into that game. Like it was very good. So yeah, Sifu is my number 2 biggest surprise of the year.
Sifu good. We'll talk about Sifu some more.
Mhm.
But
Sifu's
Hunter,
very good.
shock me, wow me, dazzle me, and surprise me with your number 2.
I can't because it's neon white. Because I don't think I had heard about it before you started talking about it, and like we went over to your house to hang out or something, and you're like, "Hey, play this."
Mm.
And I think we all just kind of took turns on it. It was like, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is pretty fun."
And
It's a good game.
I got to do the selling point for it, which is like, okay, you play this. Like, I just put you on some fucking old level that I had already played, and then after you beat it and like got to the end, like, okay, now let me show you why this game's cool, and then I get in and I do all the shortcuts and like show up. It's like it like this is what this game can be. It's fucking buck wild. The only reason it's not super surprising to me is that Ben Esposito makes good games.
Yeah, I think I've liked everything he's had his mitts
Motherfucker
on.
does not miss. But that brings us around to my number 1, or the number ones. As everyone knows, I'm very thrifty. I'm very deal oriented. I love people. I don't like people paying a lot of money for their gaming. I like people gaming on a budget. And I'm at the point where if you can get like $10 an hour on a game, like that's a pretty good deal in my mind. Like anything like $10 for an hour entertainment, that's pretty good. That compares with other things. But sometimes you get 70 hours for $3. Because some fucking you start hearing people talk about this weird game. Hunter sends you a message saying like, "Hey, here's this weird Castlevania thing. You should maybe check it out. I think you'd like it." And you go and you buy Vampire Survivors, and it proceeds to consume your life for 70 fucking hours across 2 platforms, and you 100% it twice. Not since I made a game with zombies in it has such a good deal been had for so few dollars.
That's free on Steam, by the way.
And this category was never going to be anything other than like that number 1 with Vampire Survivors at the top. It was never, ever even slightly going to be something more surprising than that. How this weird little fucking dumb Castlevania auto shooter numbers go up game would be as good as it was. And we'll definitely get into it in a future category, but I don't think I have been as surprised even close with anything. Like something that came out completely from left field for me and consumed my life for the year. It with that benefit of coming in pretty early on the year and just being able to plug away with it like slowly and slowly. Like I broke my rule for playing early access games because I was enjoying it so much. Every new update that would come out, I would fucking be like refreshing my Steam page, like waiting for it to hit the update, get in, get all the achievements, do all the new stuff, and then every single update. And when they finally said like, oh yeah, it's going to be hitting 1.0 by the end of the year, I was so thrilled because I would be able to talk about it this year as opposed to next year. Vampires, it was never going to be anything except Vampire Survivors.
It's like a clicker, but you walk around.
It's like a walking clickulator. But Ryan, you can play as it's the best game that features Bayonetta that came out this year. Ryan, what is your number 1?
So I remember we were watching E3 or the equivalent to whatever E3 that week where
Summer Games Fest.
Summer Games Fest, sure. Just, people dropping their
E3.
trailers. And I remember I was watching just, I think it was like a throwaway one. I can't remember the exact conference. But like Netflix was like, hey, we're dropping games. Like if you got the mobile app, what we're doing is we're having exclusive rights to all the mobile ports of games. But we got some big people. Like I think Devolver actually is like their big one.
They bought the Oxenfree studio.
Yeah. So if you got a Netflix thing, just go on your phone and you can download these games and play them for free as part of your subscription.
Into the Breach is on there.
Into the Breach is on there.
One of the best games ever made.
So I see the trailer for this game called Poinpy, which is just this cute little thing, but it's by the dude who did Downwell, and I'm like, dope. I fucking love Downwell.
Downwell rules.
And then the soundtrack is by Callum Bowen, and I'm like, well, he did the Lovely Planet stuff. I gotta play everything this dude is involved in because, much like Ben Esposito, he never misses with his soundtracks. I was obsessed with this game. Like, it is all I did. I think for like 2 weeks was I would be on my phone and I would be feeding a giant angry cat fruit.
You'd be pointing.
I'd be pointing, and I would literally call it pointing. Like, I'm gonna point.
Kids these days are always pointing.
Yeah, and
Never talk to nobody anymore.
it's all I thought about for like 2 weeks until I beat it. Was just like, I need to do better. I need to do better. Like, it was the closest I got to like really feeling that like roguelike, like one more run. I'm gonna do this one more time. I gotta try it again. I'm gonna keep going. And yeah, that game like ruled. Like it still rules. Like, I re-downloaded it recently to go through, and like the progression of how you get progressively better at it, and you unlock more little like power-ups to keep you going. And it was a mobile game. I was super surprised that a mobile game on Netflix really clicked with me as much as it did. Poinpy.
Is the burp
It's a
part of
good-
the title?
Yes. If you want to pronounce it correctly.
Oh,
I can't understand your accent. But Jason, what is your biggest surprise this year?
Sorry, I had to download Poinpy. So again, my biggest surprise was a game that it's not like it came out of nowhere, but my biggest surprise was Elden Ring. I haven't played a game that much since I was a kid. Like, I think if I had to guess, the next highest like time I put into a game as an adult was Ghost of Tsushima, which I gave like 40 hours. Like, normally if a game's projected time to beat is over 20, 25, I won't even bother touching it because I know I won't play it or finish it at least. But Elden Ring was just such a hot topic that every single person was gonna play it or was playing it, that I was like, I'll give it a try. If I fizzle out after 10 hours, so be it. I'll feel like I got my money's worth still at that point. But I think by the time I finished it, I was around 75 hours in, which I know is super low compared to basically everyone else I know that played it. And
Hey.
probably put double that time. Dash, how many hours did you play?
I mean, I beat it in 40.
Yeah, but how many hours did you put into it
Oh God.
overall?
Okay, keep going.
say according to Steam, I put 200 into
I'm gonna
it.
say I'm something like 200.
Yeah. But yeah, so like 75 in a single game for me is
Wrote
an
a fucking
astronomical
guidebook
amount of
for it.
time. Like, that's the reason I never got through Red Dead 2, was because of how long it was and how long the projected time to beat was. But yeah, I haven't put that much time into a game since probably like Call of Duty 4, maybe Fallout 3, but I don't even know if I really played Fallout 3 nearly that many hours. It just felt like a lot back then. But yeah, so I was just shocked by how much Elden Ring sucked me in, and like I was able to keep pushing and keep playing it.
I also like how much Elden Ring sucked me off. So Lily, what is your number one?
My number one. Let's talk about Vampire Survivors a little
Let's
bit.
fucking talk about Vampire Survivors.
I've never
Let's talk
heard
about
of
Po Racho. Let's talk about Pugnala
Yeah.
Krovlova. Let's talk about Garlic.
So this is a game that at Dash's recommendation, because it was $2 on Steam, I picked it up. And at first, I didn't get it, and I didn't like it. Numbers go up did nothing for me at first, because I thought the forest was the only level. And then Dash was like, oh no, there's like 10 times more content than what you've seen. And I was like, oh, okay. So I decided to boot it up again and give it a serious try. and then I put 40 hours into it and got all the achievements on Steam. So it really surprised me, mostly with the turnaround. Like, I had fully given up on it. I was done playing Vampire Survivors. And then I found out that I had seen nothing. And I gave it another try, and I think that next run was where I unlocked Poe. And things snowballed much the same way as they did for everyone else, I
Garlic.
think. So yeah,
That's
shout
the
out
turning
Vampire
point.
Survivors.
It's the tool of the year.
It's one of them for sure.
It's no 000 degree nozzle.
Danny,
That's
what is your
true.
biggest surprise? Because I know you haven't played Vampire Survivors.
Right. My biggest surprise is it's within Splatoon 3. Splatoon 3 I was not surprised that I enjoyed. What I was surprised about was so Splatoon always comes with like a little side arcade game. There's like the first one has like a jump thing. The second one has a little rhythm game. Splatoon 3 has Table Turf War, which is a trading card game of turf war, and it's phenomenal. As you progress throughout the game, in other modes, you will occasionally get packs of Table Turf War cards, and they're characters or weapons or just a number of things from the game, and you can build a deck of 15 cards, and they are each card will have a like number of squares that it covers on a grid, and it kind of has a feeling like the dungeon dice monsters from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay, now I'm in.
Dimension
Yeah.
dice.
Interesting.
Dimension the Squid Kid.
Yeah, it's kind of like that combined with Turf War, the base battle version of Splatoon, and just as you play, you'll unlock harder and harder opponents to face, and I have plugged hours and hours into Table Turf War. I think I might have played more Table Turf War than any other part of Splatoon, because it's really well designed, and it also it shows you the strategies that are applicable to the base game. They're reflected in Table Turf War, and it like reframes playing Turf War. And I am just so excited for when they finally put in. There's a section in the lobby of Splatoon 3 that is just like Table Turf War tables, and it's like in where you can see other players moving around. So like they're eventually going to put in player versus player table turf war, and I cannot wait for that. For now, it's just against computers, but I haven't beat Harmony on level 3. It's a really good little mini game with a lot of depth to it, and I have I've spent like tens of hours on this little like 15 card trading card game within Splatoon. I was very surprised that the arcade game would grab me like that.
Table
It
Turf
sounds
War
like
better
they
than
need to
Gwent.
It sounds like they need to spin it out into its own game.
Possibly a mobile game. I
Dungeon
would.
Dice Monster Vindication.
It was just too
Something's got to
early.
take on Hearthstone.
Mankind wasn't ready for Dungeon Dice Monsters.
So like part of it is there's so like all of the cards that you have will cover a number of squares, and you want a good mix of like cards that cover a lot of area, and then you want cards that fit into really weird small spaces, because once your opponent has put their cards over an area, you can't put your cards there, except each card will have a like special block where if you surround that on all sides, you get a your special gauge filled up, and you can if you activate your special gauge, you can place your cards over tiles that have already been covered by your opponents. Larger cards require more full special gauge. Smaller cards require less, and so you get they're just like the strategy behind it gets weirdly in depth, and they like you get these big splashy moves at the end of the game where like you've backed each other into these corners, and it is yeah, it has occupied a lot of my time this year. Table
I
Turf
floop
Wars.
the pig.
it's yeah, a lot of depth, much like Card Wars. Yeah, Table Turf Wars. It's good.
Alrighty then, Hunter. What has a mad god whispered to you that will swerve this whole category and truly be the biggest surprise for the other 5 people here?
I mean, it's probably not going to be anything trombone champ level or
Set the monkey
Power
to
Wash.
Inferno. Set the baboon to Inferno.
So about 7 years ago now, a game called Overwatch came out, and it was very popular, and everybody lost their shit over it. And then Blizzard made a second one that's the same game, but with a 2 on the front. And Bandai Namco decided, hey, people like Overwatch. Some people like Gundam. Why don't we slam them together? And they made Gundam Evolution, which is literally just Overwatch but Gundam. And I didn't hear about this game at all. It had apparently run several beta tests that I did not know. And it just kind of dropped free to play suddenly on Steam, and people were talking about it. And it's like, I kind of like Gundam. I kind of like Overwatch. I'll give that a try. And it ended up being pretty fun, actually. And that's honestly all I have to say about it for right now. But it might come up again later.
I would like to play that game, but at the very beginning when it asks you what language you would like, and I thought they were referring to the voice acting, so I set Japanese, and it set the entire game into Japanese, and I cannot get it un-Japanesed until I finish the 10-step tutorial that I cannot read or understand any of the objectives for. But I would like to play that game, but I have tried uninstalling it, I have deleted all of my save data for it, and I cannot un-Japanese the game.
Get it on a different system.
I mean, you could just
Can you
replay the
delete your save
tutorial if you
files?
cared, but I don't know. Probably not. It's an online only game, so who knows?
Save to the cloud.
Yep.
You're gonna have to watch a walkthrough.
No, I'll just play Overwatch.
Sorry, this Overwatch clone is for not idiots only.
Yeah,
Watch
no, yeah, I
someone
failed
else
the first
play
test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with that brings us to a close on our biggest surprises. It's a good year for surprises.
Shout out to the Playdate for doing the Ouya business model and working out. Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to Persona 5 Royale. Final boss fight just kept going.
Shout out to Marvel Snap for being one of the most devious fucking games I have ever played in my entire fucking life. For being the real life realization of that game from Star Trek TNG.
Shout out
Devious
to
game.
Power Wash Simulator for being literally the best game in the world.
Dash,
Shout out to
I am
what?
so mad you made that reference because I was sitting on it for Vampire Survivors for when we were talking about it on Game of the Year.
We'll get whatever, you can say it again.
Fucking William Crusher takes me down again.
It's Wesley
You're too
Crusher.
slow.
Whatever,
old
I don't
man.
watch that
Wesley
show.
Pussy Crusher. But with that, we will disperse and rejoin for the only negative category of the year, where the airing of the grievances, where we will be talking about our biggest letdowns. But we will see you then.